The royal transport ship broke apart in the upper atmosphere of the small planet called Haven's Rest. Fire and smoke filled the sky as pieces of metal fell like burning rain across the farmlands below. Inside the crashing vessel, Princess of the Empire held onto her seat and screamed as the world spun around her. The raiders had come out of nowhere. One moment, her ship was traveling through safe space with a full escort of royal guards. The next moment, plasma fire tore through the hull and killed everyone around her. The pilot managed to set a course for the nearest planet before he died at his controls. Now was alone, falling from the sky in a broken ship. The impact knocked her unconscious. When she opened her eyes, she found herself lying in a field of tall golden crops. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors of orange and red. Her body hurt everywhere. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. Her beautiful royal dress was torn and covered in dirt. Tried to stand, but her legs would not support her. She fell back down into the soft earth and cried. She was a princess of one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. She had servants to dress her. She had guards to protect her. She had ships to carry her across the stars. Now she had nothing. She crawled through the field for what felt like hours. The crops scratched her skin and the dirt got into her wounds. She could hear strange sounds in the distance. Animals maybe, or worse. She did not know what kind of creatures lived on this primitive world. Finally, she saw a light. A small house stood at the edge of the field. It was simple and plain, nothing like the grand palaces she was used to. But it was shelter. It was safety. She used the last of her strength to reach the door. She collapsed on the wooden steps, and everything went dark again. Cole was feeding his chickens when he saw the fire in the sky. He watched the ship break apart and fall toward the eastern fields. He stood very still for a long moment, his hand frozen in the bag of feed. Then he put the bag down and walked toward his house to get his medical kit. He had seen ships fall from the sky before, in another life, in a life he tried very hard to forget. He found the alien woman on his doorstep just as the last light of day faded away. She was beautiful in a way that was not quite human. Her skin had a slight blue tint. Her ears were longer and pointed. Her hair was silver like moonlight, but she bled red just like anyone else. Cole carried her inside and laid her on his bed. He cleaned her wounds with gentle hands. He bandaged her cuts and checked her bones for breaks. She was lucky. Nothing was seriously damaged. She would live. He sat in a chair beside the bed and waited for her to wake up. Outside, his dog barked once and then went quiet. The night sounds of the colony filled the air. Insects singing, wind moving through the crops, the distant hum of farming machines shutting down for the night. It was almost midnight when the princess opened her eyes. She sat up fast and looked around the room with wild fear. When she saw Cole, she scrambled backward until her back hit the wall. "Where am I?" she demanded. Her voice was sharp and commanding even though she was clearly terrified. "Who are you? What is this place?" Cole did not move from his chair. He kept his hands visible and his voice calm. "You are safe," he said. "My name is Cole. You crashed in my field. I brought you inside and treated your wounds." Stared at him, her eyes moved up and down, studying him. He was tall and lean with broad shoulders. His hair was dark brown and cut short. His face was weathered from years of working under the sun. He wore simple clothes, a plain shirt, work pants, boots covered in dirt. "You are human," she said. It was not a question, it was an accusation. "Yes." Fear turned to disgust. She had heard stories about humans her entire life. They were a young species, barely 500 years into space travel. They were emotional and chaotic. They fought wars among themselves for foolish reasons. They were considered primitive by most of the civilized galaxy. "I need to contact my father immediately," she said. "I am Princess of the Empire. My ship was attacked by raiders. There will be people searching for me." Cole nodded slowly. He stood up and walked to a small table where a communication device sat. He picked it up and brought it to her. "The signal will take 3 days to reach space," he said. "You are welcome to stay here until your people arrive." Grabbed the device and began entering codes. Her fingers moved fast across the screen. When she finished, she looked up at Cole with cold eyes. "I will require better accommodations than this," she said. "Surely this colony has proper facilities for someone of my status." Cole almost smiled, but he did not. "This is a farming colony," he said. "We grow food. We do not have palaces or luxury hotels, but you are welcome to my bed. I will sleep in the barn." Wanted to argue, but she was too tired. Her body ached and her head was pounding. She would deal with this primitive human and his primitive world in the morning. Cole walked to the door but stopped before leaving. "There is water and food in the kitchen if you are hungry," he said. "Try to rest. Your body needs time to heal." He left without waiting for a response. Lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. It was made of wood, actual wood from actual trees. She had never slept in a room with a wooden ceiling before. Everything in her world was metal and glass and light. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but her mind would not stop racing. They had found her somehow. They had known exactly where her ship would be. That meant someone had betrayed her. Someone close to her family had sold her location to the enemy. She was not safe. She would not be safe until she was back with her father's fleet. A sound made her eyes snap open. Through the window she could see lights in the sky, ships, small ones, moving in search patterns across the darkness. They were here. They had followed her to this planet. They were hunting her. Jumped out of bed and ran outside. She found Cole standing on his porch, looking up at the sky. His face showed no fear. His body was relaxed. He simply watched the enemy ships like they were nothing more than passing birds. "They are searching for me," said. Her voice was shaking. "They will kill everyone on this colony to get to me. We need to run. We need to hide." Cole did not look at her. He kept his eyes on the sky. "Can you protect me, human?" she asked. The words came out harsh and mocking. She did not believe he could. He was just a farmer. What could a farmer do against warriors? Cole finally turned to look at her. His eyes were dark and deep. There was something in them that she could not understand, something old, something tired, something dangerous. "Get some sleep, Your Highness," he said quietly. "You are safe here." Opened her mouth to argue, but something in his voice stopped her. He spoke with such certainty, such calm, like he knew something she did not. She went back inside, but she did not sleep. She watched through the window as Cole stood on his porch all night long. He never moved. He never sat down. He just watched the sky and waited. In the morning, the ships were gone from the sky, but knew they would be back. They always came back. And when they did, she was certain this simple human farmer would not be able to save her. She had never been more wrong about anything in her life. The morning sun rose over Haven's Rest and painted the fields in golden light. Had not slept at all. She had spent the entire night watching Cole stand guard on his porch like a statue made of stone. He had not moved once. He had not eaten or drunk anything. He had simply watched and waited. Now he was in his kitchen making breakfast like nothing was wrong. Stood in the doorway and watched him crack eggs into a pan. The smell of cooking food filled the small house. Her stomach growled. She had not eaten since before the attack on her ship. "Sit down," Cole said without turning around. "Food will be ready soon." She wanted to refuse. She wanted to demand better treatment, but her hunger was stronger than her pride. She sat at the small wooden table and waited. Cole put a plate in front of her. Eggs, bread, some kind of fruit she did not recognize. It was simple food, primitive food, but it smelled good. "Thank you," she said. The words felt strange in her mouth. She could not remember the last time she had thanked anyone for anything. Cole sat across from her with his own plate. They ate in silence. Through the window could see other houses in the distance, other farms. Other families going about their morning routines like there were no enemy ships in their sky. "Do these people know they are in danger?" she asked. "Yes. And they are not running." Cole looked at her with those dark eyes. "Where would they run to? This is their home. Everything they have is here. Their families, their work, their lives. They will not abandon it." Shook her head. It made no sense to her. In the Empire, people fled from danger. They let soldiers handle threats. They did not stand and fight for patches of dirt and wooden houses. "They will die," she said. "When they come, they will kill everyone." "Maybe," Cole said. He took a bite of his bread and chewed slowly. "Maybe not." Before could respond, a sound cut through the morning air. It was a siren, loud and sharp and terrifying. Cole stood up fast and walked to the window. In the distance could see a ship landing. It was black and covered in spikes. Design, the enemy had arrived. "Stay here," Cole said. "Do not leave this house." "What are you going to do?" He did not answer. He simply walked out the door and started walking toward the town. Watched him go. He walked with a steady pace, not too fast, not too slow, like a man going to work in his fields, like a man with nothing to fear. She ran to the window on the other side of the house. From there, she could see the main road that led through the colony. Other people were coming out of their homes, farmers with worried faces, women holding children close, old men shaking their heads. Then she saw There were 12 of them. They were massive creatures, 7 feet tall with bodies covered in hard black armor that grew from their own skin. Their heads were shaped like skulls with 4 red eyes that glowed in the morning light. Each one carried a plasma rifle that could burn through metal. They walked through the colony like they owned it. They kicked down fences. They smashed windows. They laughed at the humans who scrambled to get out of their way. The leader stopped in the middle of the road and spoke in a voice that boomed across the town. "We are looking for a female. She crashed here last night. Bring her to us and we will leave in peace. Hide her from us and we will burn this place to the ground." No one moved. No one spoke. The leader grabbed an old man who was standing nearby. He lifted the human off the ground with one hand and held him up like a toy. "Perhaps you need motivation," the leader said. "For every minute you make us wait, I will kill one of you." His hands were shaking. She should go out there. She should give herself up. These people were going to die because of her, innocent people who had done nothing wrong. But before she could move, she saw Cole. He walked into the middle of the road and stopped about 20 feet from He stood with his hands at his sides. He had no weapon. He had no armor. He was just a man in simple clothes. "Put him down," Cole said. The leader laughed. It was an ugly sound full of hate and cruelty. "And who are you, little human? A farmer? A peasant? Do you wish to die first?" "I said put him down." The leader threw the old man aside like garbage. The old man hit the ground hard but crawled away fast. The other colonists backed away too. They knew something was about to happen. "Kill him," the leader ordered. 3 warriors raised their rifles and fired. Blue plasma bolts shot through the air toward Cole. But Cole was not there anymore. He moved so fast that eyes could not follow him. One moment he was standing in the road. The next moment he was among the warriors. His hands moved in blurs. There were sounds of breaking bone and tearing flesh. The first warrior fell with his neck twisted at an impossible angle. The second warrior fell with his chest caved in like something had punched through his armor. The third warrior fell in 2 pieces. The remaining opened fire, but they were shooting at shadows. Cole was everywhere and nowhere at once. He killed with his bare hands. He killed with speed and precision that should not have been possible for any living creature. Counted the seconds in her head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 30 seconds, that was all it took. 12 warriors lay dead in the dirt. Their bodies were broken and twisted. Their weapons were scattered around them like toys dropped by careless children. Cole stood in the middle of them. His clothes were torn and splattered with alien blood. His breathing was steady. His hands were open at his sides. He looked up at the sky where more ships were circling. His face showed no fear, no anger, no emotion at all. He simply looked at them and waited. The ships did not land. They pulled back and disappeared over the horizon. Cole walked back toward his house. The colonists watched him go. No one said a word. Some of them bowed their heads as he passed. Others looked away like they were afraid to meet his eyes. When he came through the door, was standing in the middle of the room. Her entire body was shaking. She had seen warriors fight before. She had seen battles and wars, but she had never seen anything like what she had just witnessed. "Who are you?" she whispered. Cole walked past her to the kitchen sink. He turned on the water and began washing the blood from his hands. The water ran purple and then pink and then clear. "I told you my name," he said. "I am Cole." "That is not what I mean, and you know it." He dried his hands on a towel and hung it back on its hook. He moved to the window and looked out at the fields where his crops were growing tall and healthy. "I am a farmer," he said. "That is all I am now." "You just killed 12 warriors with your bare hands in less than a minute. Farmers cannot do that. Soldiers cannot do that. I do not know anyone who can do that." Cole was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was soft and tired. "There was a time when I was not a farmer. There was a time when I did terrible things in terrible places. I came here to forget that time. I came here to grow things instead of destroy them. I came here to be something other than what they made me." Took a step closer to him. "What did they make you?" Cole turned to look at her. In his eyes she saw something that made her blood run cold. It was not anger. It was not pride. It was sadness. Deep and endless sadness that came from doing things that could never be undone. "They made me a weapon," he said. "The most dangerous weapon humanity ever created. And every day I wake up and try to forget how to be that thing. But it seems the universe will not let me." He walked to the door and opened it. "More will come," he said. "The do not accept defeat easily. Stay inside. Stay safe. I will handle them." He walked out into the sunlight and closed the door behind him. Stood alone in the small house. Her mind was racing with questions she did not know how to ask. This human, this simple farmer, he was something she had never encountered before, something that did not fit into anything she understood about the universe. She walked to the window and watched him cross the field toward the town. The colonists were gathering around the bodies. Some were collecting the weapons. Others were digging graves. And Cole walked among them like he was just another farmer going about his day. But knew the truth now. She knew that beneath that quiet surface was something ancient and dangerous, something that scared her more than the ever could. And she knew that she would not rest until she understood exactly what kind of monster was hiding inside the man who had saved her life. 2 days passed on Haven's Rest. 2 days of waiting and watching and wondering. The ships still circled in the sky, but they did not land. They were waiting for something. Reinforcements maybe, or orders from their commanders. Whatever the reason, was grateful for the peace. She spent her time watching Cole and the other colonists. She learned things about humans that surprised her. They worked together without being ordered. They shared food and tools without keeping count. When one family needed help, the others came running without being asked. It was strange to her. In the Empire, everything was measured and counted. Favors were recorded. Debts were collected. Nothing was given freely. But what surprised her most were the other colonists who seemed to know about Cole. There was a woman named Maya Torres who ran the medical clinic. She had dark hair and kind eyes, but there was something hard beneath her gentle smile. When she looked at Cole, there was respect in her eyes, and something else, recognition. There was a man named Daniel Vance who worked at the supply depot. He was big and strong with hands by burns. He nodded at Cole whenever they passed each other, but they never spoke. There was a woman named who taught school for the colony's children. She was thin and quiet with eyes that never stopped moving. She watched everything around her like a hunter watching for prey. These people knew something. They shared some secret with Cole that the other colonists did not understand. On the second night made her decision. She needed to know the truth. Cole's house had a small computer terminal in the corner of his bedroom. It was an old model, basic and simple, but it was connected to the colony's network. Waited until Cole went out to check the perimeter. Then she sat down at the terminal and began searching. She was skilled with computers. All nobles were trained in technology from childhood. It did not take her long to find her way into the colony's archived database. Most of the files were boring: crop reports, weather data, medical records. But then she found a folder that was locked. It required a security clearance she did not have. That made her curious. She spent an hour breaking through the encryption. When she finally opened the folder, her breath caught in her throat. The file was labeled Cole Classified Personnel Record. Most of the document was hidden behind black marks. Words and sentences had been erased. Entire sections were missing, but fragments remained. Enough fragments to paint a picture that terrified her. Former designation, Reaper 7. Service record, Black Operations Division, Earth Unified Command. Confirmed engagements, classified. Kill count, classified. Psychological evaluation, extreme trauma, recommended permanent retirement. Subject demonstrates exceptional combat abilities but shows signs of severe emotional damage. Subject requested isolation posting. Request approved. Current status, honorable discharge. Identity sealed by military tribunal. There were other files too. Files on Maya Tours, Daniel Vance. All of them had the same black marks. All of them had the same classification levels. All of them had been part of something called the Black Operations Division. Closed the terminal and sat in the darkness. Her hands were shaking again. She had heard rumors about human special forces. Stories told in whispers at diplomatic gatherings. Tales of soldiers who were more machine than man. Killers who could destroy entire armies by themselves. She had always thought they were exaggerations. Propaganda designed to make humans seem more dangerous than they really were. Now she knew the truth. The stories were not exaggerations. They were understatements. The door opened and Cole walked in. He stopped when he saw her sitting at his computer. His eyes moved to the screen and then back to her face. He knew what she had found. "I suppose you have questions," he said. "You are Reaper 7, a Black Operations soldier, one of the most classified fighters in human military history." Cole walked past her and sat down on his bed. He pulled off his boots and set them by the wall. His movements were slow and careful, like he was very tired. "I was Reaper 7, he said. "I am not that person anymore." "You killed 12 warriors with your bare hands in 30 seconds. You are still that person." Cole looked at her. In the dim light of the room, his face looked older than his years. Lines of pain were carved around his eyes and mouth. "I came here to forget what I am," he said. "I spent 15 years doing things that no one should ever have to do. I killed people, hundreds of people. Sometimes they were soldiers, sometimes they were not. I followed orders because that was all I knew how to do." He held up his hands and stared at them like they belonged to someone else. "These hands have ended more lives than I can count. I have broken bones and crushed throats and torn bodies apart. I did it because my commanders told me it was necessary. I did it because I believed I was protecting my people." "What changed?" asked. "I started to dream about their faces, the people I killed. I saw them every time I closed my eyes. I heard their voices. I felt their blood on my skin. I could not sleep. I could not eat. I could not be around other people without wanting to scream." He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars were shining bright above the fields. I asked for a discharge. They gave it to me because I was broken. A weapon that does not work properly is useless to them. They sent me here. A forgotten colony at the edge of nowhere. A place where I could disappear. And the others, Maya, Daniel, they came here for the same reason. Cole nodded. We found each other over the years. Broken soldiers looking for a place to heal. We do not talk about what we were. We do not share war stories. We just live our lives and try to remember how to be human again. Stood up and walked toward him. She stopped a few feet away and looked at his back. I do not understand, she said. In my culture, warriors are celebrated. They are honored for their strength. They do not hide from their past. They embrace it. Cole turned to face her. There was no anger in his eyes, no pride, just that endless sadness she had seen before. Then your culture does not understand what it truly means to kill, he said. Taking a life is not glorious. It is not beautiful. It is ugly and painful, and it leaves scars that never heal. Every time you kill, you lose a piece of yourself. Do it enough times and there is nothing left. He walked past her toward the door. I fight now only when I have no other choice. I protect these people because they took me in when I had nothing. They gave me a home. They gave me a purpose. They helped me remember that I am more than a weapon. He stopped at the door and looked back at her. That is the truth you were searching for, princess. I am not a hero. I am not a monster. I am just a man trying to be better than what he was made to be. He walked out into the night. Stood alone in the quiet house. She thought about everything she had learned. In the Empire, strength was measured by conquest, by victory, by how many enemies you could defeat. But Cole had shown her a different kind of strength. The strength to stop fighting. The strength to put down your weapons and walk away. The strength to choose peace when war was all you had ever known. She realized then that she had been wrong about humans. They were not primitive or simple. They were complex in ways she had never imagined. They carried pain and hope and regret and love all at the same time. They were capable of terrible violence and incredible kindness. And Cole, the man called Reaper 7, was the most human person she had ever met, not because of his strength, but because of his struggle to overcome it. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere up there they were planning their next attack. More warriors would come, more blood would be spilled. But for the first time since she crashed on this planet, did not feel afraid. Because she knew that Cole would protect her, not because she was a princess, not because she was valuable, but because protecting others was how he held onto his humanity. And that was something she was only beginning to understand. The sky turned black on the third morning, not from clouds, not from storm, from ships. 50 warships descended through the atmosphere and formed a ring around Haven's Rest. Their shadows fell across the fields and houses like a blanket of death. Stood on Cole's porch and watched them come. Her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. This was not a raiding party. This was an invasion force. Enough firepower to burn the entire colony to ash. A voice boomed from the largest ship. It was deep and cruel and full of hate. I am the Hollow. I know the princess hides among you. I know you have killed my scouts. You have made a grave mistake, little humans. Surrender the princess and I will make your deaths quick. Resist and I will make you suffer for days before I let you die. Cole walked out of the house and stood beside. His face was calm. His hands were steady. He looked up at the warships like they were nothing more than birds passing overhead. Get inside, he said. Stay away from the windows. You cannot fight this. There are thousands of them. You are one man. Cole turned to look at her. There was something new in his eyes, something she had not seen before. It looked almost like peace. I am not alone, he said. He walked toward the town center, followed despite his warning. She needed to see what would happen. She needed to understand. The colonists were already gathering in the town hall. Families sat together on wooden benches. Children held onto their parents. Old people clutched each other's hands. Fear was written on every face. But not all of them were afraid. Maya Tor stood by the door with a medical bag over her shoulder. Her eyes were clear and focused. Daniel Vance was unpacking crates of equipment that did not recognize, was checking a long rifle that she held with practiced ease. There were others too, men and women who stood apart from the regular colonists. They had the same look in their eyes, the same quiet readiness, the same invisible weight on their shoulders. Cole walked to the front of the hall and turned to face everyone. The room went silent. "You all heard the message," he said. "They want the princess. If we give her to them, they might leave us alone. They might burn us anyway. We have no way of knowing." He paused and looked around the room. "I will not order anyone to fight. This is not a military operation. You are not soldiers. Most of you came here to live peaceful lives. You have families. You have children. You have every right to stay hidden and hope for the best." A farmer in the front row stood up. He was old and bent, but his voice was strong. "What are you going to do, Cole?" Cole met the old man's eyes. "I am going to defend this colony and everyone in it, including the princess. They killed innocent people 3 days ago. They will kill more if we let them. I am not willing to let that happen." The old farmer nodded slowly. "Then I will stand with you. This is my home. I will not hide while others fight for it." More people stood up. Farmers, teachers, engineers, shopkeepers. One by one they rose to their feet, not all of them. Some stayed seated with their families. Some took their children and left through the back door. No one judged them. No one called them cowards. But by the end, more than 100 people were standing, ready to fight, ready to die if necessary. Maya Tor stepped forward. "I will set up a medical station in the school building. Anyone who is wounded should be brought there immediately." Daniel Vance lifted a crate onto a table and opened it. "I have weapons, explosives, enough to hurt them badly if we are smart about it." Chambered a round in her rifle. "I will find a high position. Their commanders are easier to kill when they are standing still and giving orders." Cole looked at his fellow veterans. These people had followed him across the galaxy to find peace. Now they were picking up weapons again. Now they were becoming what they had tried so hard to leave behind. "Thank you," he said quietly, "all of you." He turned to the colonists. "We have 6 hours before dark. That is when they will attack. We need to prepare." The next 6 hours were a blur of activity. The colonists worked together with speed and purpose. They dug trenches around the town. They built barricades from furniture and vehicles. They set traps in the fields using farming equipment and explosives. Cole moved among them, giving orders in a quiet voice. He positioned defenders at key points. He explained angles of fire and fallback positions. He turned farmers into soldiers with nothing more than words and patience. Helped where she could. She carried supplies. She bandaged hands that were cut by tools. She held frightened children while their parents worked. At one point, she found herself standing beside Maya Tor's. "You were a soldier too," said, "like Cole." Maya did not stop working on her medical supplies. "We were all soldiers once. We all did terrible things. We all came here to escape our past. And now you are fighting again." Maya looked up at her. Her eyes were sad but determined. "Cole saved my life, twice. Once on a battlefield when everyone else was dead. Once here when I had given up hope of ever being anything more than a killer. He gave me a second chance. He gave all of us a second chance." She closed her medical bag and stood up. "We do not fight because we want to. We fight because there are things worth protecting. This colony, these people, this new life we built from nothing. If they want to take that from us, they will have to earn it in blood." As the sun began to set, found Cole standing alone at the edge of the fields. He was looking at the ships that hung in the sky like dark clouds. She walked up beside him and stood in silence for a moment. "Why?" she asked finally. "I am nothing to you. My people have looked down on humans for centuries. We call you primitive. We exclude you from galactic politics. We treat you like children who cannot govern themselves. Why would you die for me?" Cole was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Because protecting people who cannot protect themselves is what makes us human. It is the only thing that separates us from the monsters we fight. I have done terrible things in my life. I have killed without mercy. I have followed orders that haunt me every day. But I also protected people. I saved lives. I stood between innocent souls and the darkness that wanted to consume them." He turned to look at her. In the dying light of the sun, his eyes were filled with something she could not name. "If I do not protect you now, then everything I suffered was for nothing. All the blood on my hands, all the nights without sleep, all the pieces of myself I lost along the way, they only mean something if I use what I became to help others." He reached out and put a hand on her shoulder. His touch was gentle, warm, human. "I would rather die as the man I want to be than live as the weapon I was made to become." In the distance, the ships began to descend. Lights flickered in the darkness. The attack was beginning. Cole dropped his hand and turned toward the town. "Stay with Maya, she will keep you safe." "Cole." He stopped and looked back at her. Struggled to find the words. Her throat was tight and her eyes were burning with tears she refused to let fall. "I was wrong about you. I was wrong about all of you. Whatever happens tonight, I want you to know that." Cole smiled. It was a small smile, a sad smile, but it was real. "If we survive this, you can tell the rest of the galaxy. Maybe they will listen." He walked into the darkness to meet his enemies. And Princess of the Empire stood alone in a field on a world she had never known existed, praying to gods she did not believe in for the life of a human farmer who had shown her what true strength really meant. The Battle of Haven's Rest began at sunset and lasted through the night. The first wave of warriors landed in the eastern fields. 300 soldiers in full armor with plasma weapons and murder in their hearts. They expected to crush the humans in minutes. They expected to find farmers cowering in their homes, begging for mercy. They found death instead. Daniel Vance had planted explosives throughout the fields. When they marched forward in their tight formations, the ground beneath them erupted in fire. Dozens died in the first seconds. The survivors scattered and ran straight into the kill zones that Cole had prepared. Fired from her position in the church tower, each shot found its target. Commanders fell one after another, their skulls pierced by bullets they never saw coming. Without leaders, the warriors became confused. They broke formation. They attacked in small groups instead of coordinated waves. That was their mistake. Cole moved through the chaos like a ghost. He appeared behind enemy lines and killed without sound. He struck from shadows and vanished before anyone could respond. The warriors began to panic. They fired at nothing. They killed their own allies in their fear. The colonists held their positions. Farmers who had never fired a weapon stood behind their barricades and fought with everything they had. Teachers defended their students with axes and knives. Engineers used their tools as clubs and hammers. They were not trained soldiers, but they had something they did not expect. They had something to fight for. The second wave came at midnight. 500 warriors this time, heavy armor, heavy weapons. They pushed through the eastern fields and reached the town's outer defenses. The fighting became close and brutal. Maya Torres worked without stopping in her medical station. The wounded came in waves, burns, broken bones, plasma wounds that ate through flesh like acid. She saved everyone she could and held the hands of those she could not. Stayed by her side and helped where she could. She held instruments. She passed bandages. She spoke soft words to dying colonists who had never asked for this war. One young man grabbed her hand. as the life faded from his eyes. "Tell my wife," he whispered. "Tell her I love her." He died before could respond. She sat there with his hand in hers and wept. She had never seen death so close before. She had never felt the weight of a life ending in her arms. Maya put a hand on her shoulder. "This is what they are fighting for," she said. "This is what Cole is trying to protect. Not land, not buildings, these people, these lives, these connections between souls that make existence meaningful." The third wave came at dawn, but this time something was different. Descended from his ship. He was enormous, nearly 8 feet tall, with armor that gleamed like polished obsidian. He carried a blade as long as a man was tall. His 4 eyes burned with rage as he surveyed the battlefield. Hundreds of his warriors lay dead in the fields. The humans had held through the night. This colony of farmers and merchants had killed more in one night than most armies killed in a year. "Where is the one who leads them?" roared. "Where is the human who slaughtered my scouts? Face me, coward, face me and die." Cole walked out of the morning mist. He was covered in blood and dirt. His clothes were torn. His body was marked with wounds that would have killed a normal man, but his eyes were clear. His hands were steady. "I am here," he said. Laughed. It was a sound like grinding stones. "You are the one, this broken creature, this pathetic human. You have killed my warriors, but you are nothing, a toy for me to break." Cole did not respond. He simply stood and waited. The charged. He was fast for his size. His blade cut through the air with enough force to split stone, but Cole was faster. He slipped under the attack and struck its knee. The impact made the stumble. Swung again. Cole dodged again. They circled each other in the morning light. They attacked with fury and rage. Cole defended with precision and patience. The colonists watched from their positions. The warriors watched from theirs. The whole world seemed to hold its breath. For 4 minutes they fought, was stronger. His armor could stop bullets. His blade could cut through metal. But Cole had something that did not. He had fought battles like this before. He had faced enemies who were bigger and stronger and more ruthless than anything that could imagine. Cole found his opening, a moment when overextended, a fraction of a second when this guard was down. Cole struck. His hand moved too fast for the eye to follow. His fingers found the gap between helmet and chest plate. He pulled a blade from somewhere and drove it deep into the throat. Fell to his knees. His eyes were wide with shock. He tried to speak, but only blood came from his mouth. Cole leaned close to him. "You came here looking for weakness," he said. "You found something else." The hollow died in the dirt of a farming colony on a world that did not even have a proper name. The fleet retreated. Without their commanders, without the will to continue fighting, they pulled back into space and disappeared among the stars. The colonists stood in stunned silence. They had won. Somehow, impossibly, they had won. Then the cheering started. Men and women hugged each other. Children ran out of hiding places and jumped into their parents' arms. Tears of relief and joy flowed freely. Cole did not celebrate. He walked back to his house and closed the door behind him. 3 hours later, the rescue fleet arrived. Admiral landed in the town center with a full honor guard. He expected to find the princess dead or captured. He expected to find nothing but ashes and bodies. Instead, he found Princess standing among human defenders, surrounded by the evidence of an impossible victory. "This man saved my life," said. She pointed to Cole, who had emerged from his house to see the new arrivals. He and his people held this colony against an entire invasion force. Admiral looked at Cole with new eyes. He saw the wounds, the blood, the exhaustion that weighed on the human's shoulders like a mountain. "We owe you a debt, human. Name your reward. Land, wealth, a position in the military, whatever you desire." Cole was quiet for a long moment. He looked at his fields where the crops were damaged but not destroyed. He looked at his house that was still standing. He looked at his neighbors who were already starting to rebuild. "I just want to be left alone to tend my crops," he said. "That is all I have ever wanted." Admiral did not understand, but did. She stepped forward and put her hand on Cole's arm. "Thank you," she said, "for everything. Take care of yourself, Princess. The galaxy needs people like you, people who are willing to change their minds when they see the truth." Smiled through her tears. "And the galaxy needs people like you, even if it does not deserve them." She walked to the shuttle without looking back. She could not look back. If she did, she knew she would never leave. The fleet departed that afternoon. Haven's Rest became quiet once again. The colonists buried their dead and mourned their losses. They repaired their homes and replanted their fields. Life continued as it always had. But things were different now. Princess returned to the Empire and became the most vocal advocate for human integration in galactic politics. She told anyone who would listen about the quiet farmer who had shown her what true strength looked like. She pushed for treaties and alliances. She fought against prejudice and ignorance. And whenever someone questioned the value of humanity, she told them the story of Haven's Rest. She told them about farmers who became warriors, about veterans who found peace, about a man called Cole who wanted nothing more than to grow his crops and watch the sun set over his fields. Cole stayed on Haven's Rest. He fixed his fences. He fed his chickens. He watched the seasons change and the years pass. Maya Torres kept running the medical clinic. Daniel Vance kept managing the supply depot, kept teaching children how to read and write. They never talked about the battle. They never celebrated what they had done. They simply lived their lives and tried to remember how to be human. But sometimes, late at night, they would gather on Cole's porch and watch the stars. They would share a drink and sit in comfortable silence. And they would remember the friends they had lost and the lives they had saved. That was enough for them. That was more than enough. Because when the alien princess had asked, "Can you protect me, human?" she had no idea that she was speaking to a man who had protected humanity from threats she could not imagine. She had no idea that humans did not measure strength in size or technology or conquest. They measured it in the will to stand when all seemed lost, in the courage to protect strangers, in the determination to be better than what the universe tried to make them. And that was a strength no alien species had ever truly understood, until now. The end.